Hey everyone, welcome to Write On, the podcast from Final Draft. This is the show where we talk about all things screenwriting. I'm your host, Phil Galasso. Today we have an interview with Eliza Clark, creator of Y, The Last Man, the new adaptation of the classic comic book series.
Madam President, power plants will start to shut down.
Which city? All of them.
Somewhere is the answer to how this all happened and how we fix it.
Who are you?
Yorick.
You're reproductively interesting.
Wow. Okay.
People are gonna have to pick sides. They are hungry. Angry. Terrified. We will rebuild together.
Eliza and guest host Sharday Sellers discussed how the show approaches and bends the construct of gender, how Eliza built out the writer's room, her approach to adapting the comic book series, and more. Check it out.
Welcome back to Write On, everyone. It's Sharday Sellers here. I've missed you all. I hope you've missed me. I have such a special guest here today. I have Eliza Clark of Y, The Last Man. And I say that very carefully because I don't want to get too excited with spoilers on this episode because I have seen the show and I'm going to have to be very, very careful during our interview because there's so many questions I would like to ask. But for this interview specifically, we're just going to talk about the craft of screenwriting and developing the show, which is based off a comic book. So, hi, Eliza.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, can I first say, I love you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great. I love you.
I watched this show with a glass of white wine. I feel like I should have watched it with like a shot of tequila, but
maybe both. Maybe both.
Both. And I don't know if I was supposed to be. I was laughing at myself because I was like, "Oh, this is a really somber first episode," but I'm cheering at the TV, and
that's awesome.
Well, when the viewers watch it, they'll probably think I'm crazy. But look, a part of me enjoyed it. Part of me was sad. Let's get into it. Okay. So if you're like me, I have not read the comic books for this series. I want to know, because I've read a little bit about you, how you came in and your approach. I've heard lovely things about you and interviews that said the show just wasn't working. It wasn't working. And then she came in and all of a sudden it just made sense. I want to know what you pitched to make the show make sense that wasn't working over all these years.
Well, it's hard for me to know what happened before me, but what I will say is, I've loved this comic book since 2009. It was the first gift my husband ever gave me. Like when we were kind of friends, first dating. And so I read it with like, what's he trying to tell me? And I loved it. I think it's a really interesting take on identity, and it has really incredible characters, and it is also very funny. So that's like, it's really enjoyable. It's a lot of fun, and there's a dark humor, and it's got a really interesting tone and all these things that I really love in writing. And then, I think my take on it was essentially a couple of different things. I felt like, I really wanted to, the book was written 20 years ago, and I really wanted to update the way we talk about gender and the diversity of gender in this landscape. The premise is that every living thing with a Y chromosome dies except for one cis man and his monkey. And, the book makes that it's more focused on sort of like men and women, but the show makes clear early and often that Yorick is not the last man. There are plenty of men that survived who don't have Y chromosomes. And it also, I think it's just a more nuanced look at the diversity of the gender spectrum, and also, making clear that gender and chromosomes are not equal to one another. So that was, part of my take, and central to my take. And then the other part of it was that I really wanted to explore the ways that, systems of oppression conspire to inform identity.
Yeah.
And, how white supremacy and patriarchy and cis heteronormativity and capitalism and all of these things are kind of in the air that we breathe. And when an event like this happens, women uphold patriarchy. Racism doesn't die because cisgender men die. The way that women treat each other is really interesting to me. So I really wanted to do something that was like a very nuanced take on these characters, how their identity changes from before the event to after the event, and just like take you on a little adventure.
And I really love what you said about how none of these systems stop just because cisborn men die off, because that's really true, right? We're all a part. We're not all of us, but there are a lot of us who are part of the system, who function in the system, who will uphold this system, even if it were to dissipate a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think we all know what I'm talking about, so we don't have to name names on this podcast. Look at what's happening in Texas. Look at everything else. I want to touch on this topic, the gender topic, because you handle it so well in the show, but I am nervous for you. And are you nervous that others may not receive it well as you've planned out? There's so many complications of it. And I'm just like, well, I get it because I'm a millennial who's been grown up, like educating myself on gender and identity, but there's other populations that don't get it. Do you ever worry about like, how is the show going to translate to other people?
I think the only criticism that I accept and I really, I think that I care deeply what trans people think of the show. I never wanted to make something that would equate chromosomes to gender, and I wouldn't want to make anything that feels like essentialist. And that's my worldview and the opinion of the show and everybody who works on it is firmly that trans women are women and trans men are men and non-binary people are non-binary. So, that's the only thing that I really hope people sort of give it a shot for it, because I think we do. We took a lot of care. Like, I really, really hope we did right by that community. And for the sake of all of us, I'm not that interested in thinking about the world in binaries. And I think the world is, and people are just so much more interesting and beautiful and nuanced and varied than that. And I think the show really strives to show that. As far as like, will people not like that there are trans characters? Like, I don't know, fuck those people is a little bit how I feel about that. I don't care. And I think that, I don't know. I think it really is in the spirit of the book. The book is the same thing. It's like everyone with a Y chromosome dies. It just was written 20 years ago. And Brian and Pia, who wrote the book, they want it updated too. Like, Brian talks about, like, I was 25 when I wrote that, like I would do it differently now. And please, he's excited about those changes.
It's amazing how much we can learn as a society in just 20 years, in 5 years, in 10 years. And so I would like to caveat with saying too, people watch the show. Like, I know Twitter is so reactionary, and as soon as the trailer drops, everyone's gonna be like, what is it? Watch the show. Because there were moments where I was watching the pilot and I was like, wait, and then I was like, oh, you just have to watch the rest of it, and you back off your guard a little bit, because you're like, oh, okay, this is great. I don't want to name the moment, but it's specifically with one of your Black actresses. I think you know what I'm talking about. I was very proud of her in that moment.
Good. Oh, yes. Good. Talking about episode 4?
No, this isn't a pilot. Early on.
Oh, okay, great. I'm psyched. Okay, great. Oh, yes. I do know what you're remember now.
Okay. Because I was like, girl, what are you doing? And I was like, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you moment. I was like, oh, I am on board. You had me in my seat that one. I was like, I'm on board 100%. Yes. Really good.
Yes. And how about Ashley Romans?
My gosh. I what a talent. And as soon as she came on the screen, I was like, oh, hello, star. I know.
It's like, she's unbelievable. And you've seen the first 6 episodes, but
yes.
And I won't give anything away, but all of the things that she's doing are basically that's all her doing it. It's pretty incredible.
I've noticed that about all the actors. Actually, there's a scene between the two, and I'm so sorry, the gentleman who's in a relationship and he's going to
Yorick and Beth.
You can talk about this away. Okay.
I think it's okay. I think you can talk about the pilot and it'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a wonderful dinner sequence scene. That's all I'll say because I want to be safe, where the acting is just ridiculous. I was watching that scene over and over again going, this is really talented. Like, I'm sure the words were there for them, but what they're doing, the subtle nuances of the choices they're making is so great.
Yeah.
It's just a great, and I love a good dinner scene, but sometimes they can be dry. That was a really interesting and captivating one, the choices they were making.
I totally agree. I mean, that scene was like, I think that might've been like one of the first days we were shooting, and Juliana, who plays Beth, and Ben, who plays Yorick, like they were just like blowing me away. And in particular, I think the choice that Juliana made about how much she's eating is like one of my favorite things in the whole, like, cause also it's like one of my pet peeves on television when you see people like push their food around, and she is like eating. She's
enjoying the food, and she's almost like, why are you interrupting my meal?
Well, and it tells you so much about their relationship, the way she's eating in front of him. It's like, I love it so much. That's all her. I mean, she's amazing. Yeah.
I love small moments like that in TV, but I'll get back to my real questions, but I just love moments like that when I catch them, because I'm like, this is just really good. This is good direction. This is good writing. This is just nuanced, subtle acting work. So I want to talk about translating, because I read somewhere that you said this is the comic book is just a template, just a lay ground, a map, but this show is going to be its own thing. So I want to know, how do you have those conversations with the creators who wrote the book to go, hey, I'm going to derive, but then this is going to be my own thing. Like, what's the push and pull?
Well, I'm very lucky because Brian and Pia like I said before, Brian was like, I think he knew that I was a real fan of the book. Like when the first time I met him, I had to give myself a pep talk in the car about like not being crazy, like not feeling like a stalker. Cause I was like, I wanted to be like, let's talk about Saga. Let's talk about Paper Girls. Let's talk about Pride of Baghdad. Like, I love him. And so I think he could feel that. So I think he felt safe. And then he also, and he's talked about this, but like, I respect comic books as a medium. Like, I don't think that they need to be adapted. Brian has said that he feels the same way. It's like, it's its own thing. It's its own medium. It's not a blueprint to make a TV show or a screenplay. Like It's a art form in and of itself. And so to me, like the best adaptations are ones that are in conversation with the work, but are also bringing new things to the table. And Brian was very much like, I was, a different person when I wrote this 20 years ago. And this is, your story now, go with God, which I appreciated and makes it so much more fun for me. But at the same time, I feel like that was sort of taken out of context, the idea of like, oh, it's just a template. Like, I'm very loyal to the book.
Yeah.
But I just think that one of the ways that a television show can, I just think it could deepen character, can deepen stories. A story that takes 3 pages in a comic book can take 3 episodes. Like, I just think there's more to get at. And so I think that fans of the comic book will like the show and recognize where we're drawing from, but also still be surprised by it. Like, who wants to watch the thing they already know the ending to?
Yeah, exactly.
I think, so, and the other thing I'll say is the book really understands genre and understands like pop culture and has moments where it's kind of meta in that way. Mm-hmm. And I would say that for fans of the book, there are moments in the show that are in conversation with the source material that I think, you might not notice if you didn't read the book, but if you did, I think it's kind of fun to be like, oh, that's that. Yeah. So it was a nice adaptation process because Brian was so generous.
Let's pivot then really quickly, because there's so many questions. I feel like when you're talking to Brian, I'm like, I have so many questions, but I need to ask all the important stuff too. Let's talk about building the writer's room. What was it like, and what were you specifically looking for in writers when you were building your own room?
I mean, I am always looking for, excellent writers, which is what I had.
Yes.
A diversity of backgrounds.
Were there men in the room? Were there white?
There were not as many as there are in most rooms, but there were. And, yeah, I had a really excellent group of writers who all were bringing, we had playwrights, we had TV writers, we had a novelist, and all, it was a really exciting group of people who kind of all brought pieces of themselves to the table. And I think, the writer's room is one of my favorite parts of television. Like I really love the collaborative aspect of TV. I wanted to pick people who I wanted to be in a room with for a long time.
Yeah.
So, and I knew that the show was also going to be touching on like third rail issues. Like we wanted to write about gender and race and class and all these things. So I was like, I need to get a group of people who are both really good people and who are like ready to go there and bring their perspectives to it. So.
Gosh, I'm such a type A that all I keep thinking about is, okay, you've got the writer's room, you've got the source material, but where do you even start? Like, how do you break a show like this? Like how? And what do you, like, I'm really interested in the process. Is it you going, we're going to do this comic book chapter by chapter, or we're going to skip ahead? Like, what's the ethos of this?
I mean, I think every showrunner is different. The way that I like to approach it in the beginning is to like start from a really macro place. So on our first day of the room, I handed out index cards. Is this interesting? It's a final draft podcast. I feel like this. Okay.
No, this is what the viewers want. They want.
Okay, good.
So interesting.
Okay. So I handed out index cards. This is a little trick I learned from John Wells when I worked for him. And I asked a bunch of questions. So I asked what's a world you'd like to explore in this context, in the context of everyone with a Y chromosome dying. And then everybody writes down that. So it's like, I want to see what does an Amish community look like now? Or like, what does, a New York City project look like? What does like all the, it's just sort of like, let's write down just big ideas. And then, what's like specifically a location that might be interesting to explore. So it's like, what a university campus, like what, or a subway or something like that. And then, it's hard to think. Cause like now I know how I would start like, subsequent seasons. Cause in subsequent seasons you ask like, what do you think we did well last season? What do you think we could have done better? Things like that. And it's just a jumping off point. And then I read the cards out loud and they're anonymous. So people can feel free to kind of like say the thing they're thinking, but they're afraid to say. And then we talk about it. So that's just where we start. It's like big, broad strokes, big ideas. And then we had experts come and talk to us. We met with an escape artist. We met with GLAAD. We met with a couple of female soldiers. We talked to a woman who worked for a congresswoman. Like we sort of interview people about their lives and what it, for example, like when we talked to the soldiers, it was like, what is it like being a woman in the army? Like, what do you think about your gender? Like when you're there, things like that. So it's just a really nice way to, I think, approach it. It's hard because like television is it's a business and it's a machine and there's millions of dollars involved.
Yeah.
But it's an art form and we are writers. And I really like to try to protect the space of the writer's room and feel like it's not like us churning out a product. It's us exploring ideas and characters. So yeah, so we interviewed people, we talked about that, how that might apply to our characters. And then we start talking about characters specifically. So, what would it be? What do we want to see Kimberly do this season? Kimberly is Amber Tamblin's character, who's like, when you meet her, she is the author of a book called Boy Mom, and she's like railing against the Me Too movement. And she's the daughter of she's so scary and great, but you also kind of love her in spite of the fact that you're like, oh God, and then it's just thought experiments, bigger thought experiments. Like, who would be a character that it would be cool for her to come in contact with? Like, what would it be like for Agent 355 and Kimberly to be in a room together? Like, and you go from there. And then that is about like 3 weeks in and you're still in big blue sky territory.
Yeah.
And then you start chipping away, and then you get to a place where you're like, okay, here are the big tent poles of our season. Here are the, and with this specific material, because it has a book that we're adapting, like, what are the parts of the book we love? Like, what are the things we want to explore? What are the communities that are in the book that we want to explore, but update for 2021? What are the worlds we definitely want to see? What are the moments we definitely want to have? All that stuff.
So does everyone in the room read the book before they join the room?
Everybody in the room. Yes, they did.
Okay.
Read the book. Yes.
I would hope so. I assume so. Well, that to me, my type A self, I love organization. I can just see all the Post-it notes and highlighters. Yeah. So excited about
that. It's the best part. It's all the office supplies. Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
Thank you so much for taking me through that. I only have a couple of questions left because I so enjoyed our time together, but I could sit here and talk forever. And I'm sure that's not what anyone wants. The first question before I get to my final last question, Diane Lane, chimpanzee or monkey, who are you more excited to work with? Because it's like a tie. They're both great.
That's hilarious. Well, Diane Lane is one of the most incredible people and actors I've ever worked with.
She doesn't age. The bruja, witchcraft. I don't know what she's doing, what she's drinking.
She has like the most luscious hair on planet Earth.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's like a Clairol commercial. Like, you're like, what is going on?
But she's also incredibly smart and a very generous performer and like collaborator. And I adore her. The monkey is CG.
I read that. I didn't want to spoil it for people, but yes. Is the monkey, should I gender the monkey?
Well, the monkey,
monkey.
It's a male monkey.
Okay. Yes, so okay. So York's not the only one. The male monkey is alive too. And no offense to that gentleman, but gosh, what a mediocre man to survive this.
Well, yes. I mean, that's the sort of, that's how we see him as well. It's so much of like what his journey is in the series is growing the fuck up. You know what I mean?
I was like, gosh.
It's so important to me that it's not like the women around him teaching him how to grow up. Like, that's not that interesting. And also, like, it's a position that women have been put in for, time and time again. Agent 355 is like not interested in teaching him how to grow up. But I mean, their relationship and their friendship that grows over the course of the series is, I think, going to be deep and beautiful and hard and great. And
I agree. And truthful.
Yeah.
My last question is something we ask all our guests, and it's, what advice would you give your younger writer self? And that could be over the course of building this show or just over the years.
Well, it's like twofold. I think that the best advice I ever got from a teacher was to keep writing, was to not like take the thing that you wrote that was good and polish that for the rest of your life. Like, move on, put it away, start something new, because the only way you get better is to keep writing. And then the second part of that, which is what I would say to my former self, is to develop more of a practice. Like that, I think for a very long time, felt like that procrastinating was like part of my process. I was like, that's
Me too.
Well, and then when I had kids, it was like, oh, guess what? Like, you don't get to have that as part of your process anymore, because my husband basically said it to me. He was like, it's your job. Like, you should just because he's also a writer, and he was like,
the writing. I thought you meant raising the kids. What's happening? What's happening at home?
Oh my God. Hilarious. Absolutely not. No, I would not still be married to that person.
I was like, wait.
No. Oh, that's hilarious. He's going to be like, oh my God, what did you say about me? No. He was saying basically, I was like, I don't know how I can like also be a mom and write and like all this, and he was like, well, it's your job. Like, you gotta just like sit down and do it. Like, you can't incorporate procrastination into your work anymore because you don't have that time anymore. So, and he would say that he also has not totally taken that advice. We talked a lot about like how our writing process changed when we had children, because you just don't have as much time.
I can't relate, but I assume.
But it was helpful. It was helpful to me, and I think it would have been helpful to me before having kids. Like, it doesn't always have to be great. You don't have to wait for like the inspiration to hit you out of nowhere. You know, sometimes you just have to sit down and slog through it and something good will happen, or something good won't happen, but like your sense of self will be good because you've done something.
Yeah, I'm working on, I'm working on that too. I convinced myself that I can only write when I'm inspired, and then 6 months go by. So
no, exactly. That's me too. And that's the thing I've tried to learn as a grown-up writer, I guess. I mean, my 20-year-old self was like, I have to wait. I have to wait until it all comes out of me. Yeah.
Oh, the lessons we learn as you get older.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me today, because I love this show and just want everyone else to love it as much as me. Again, when you first watch the show, and if you listen to this podcast before you watch the show, please don't write me emails. I said what I said. I enjoy it. It's a romantic comedy to me. It may be a drama to some, but I thought it was quite lovely and funny. And I was cheering at the end. I don't know what that says about me as a person.
No, listen, I think it's good. I love it.
My brothers are going to listen to this and go, so you were cheering at the end of this? I'm like, yeah. You know, I miss you guys. Right. But like, that's funny. I was.
Yeah.
Everyone, actually, when I've seen it, but I don't think I know when it airs.
September 13th on Hulu.
Ooh, September 13th on Hulu.
And the first 3 episodes will be available.
Even better. Because I was like, I don't know if I can do this week by week thing, but the first 3 episodes for you guys can block, because I want to talk about it. Yeah. And I can't talk about it until people watch it.
Soon. 2 weeks.
So soon. Yeah. 2 weeks. And then ignore my Twitter, because I'll just be completely throwing theories and things around. So ignore me, you guys, but enjoy the show. September 13th, Y the Last Man. I'm so excited. I hope you are as well. And thank you so much for doing this. And gosh, I'm just so excited. I can't wait. I just want people to enjoy it, know what I'm talking about, and enjoy it with me.
I want people to enjoy it with you as well.
Yeah. Well, Eliza, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see what you do next. And then I'm already claiming a season 2. So I hope, I hope we can come back and see these characters again. But thank you so much for doing this. And I hope you have a great morning. Tell your husband it was a miscommunication.
I'm going to tell him I said that he told me I had to be a mom.
I was like, no, this doesn't track. How does she make the show? And
no. That is not the kind of marriage that I have. No.
Okay. It's like blink twice if you need help. But thank you so much. And you guys will check you out again in another episode of Right On, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks to Eliza Clark for coming on the show, and to Sharday Sellers for hosting. Y the Last Man premieres September 13th on FX on Hulu. And as always, thanks to you, our listeners. If you liked this episode, leave us a review, and if you haven't already, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. For news about future episodes and more, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at Final Draft Inc. and Instagram at Final Draft Screenwriting. This episode was produced by Kayla Guess with help from associate producer Emma Vranich. Music by T. Kelly. Thanks again, everyone. Until next time, right on.